A few years ago, a woman walked into my office with her father and a bank statement. She had folded and unfolded so many times the paper had gone soft at the seams. Her father, I'll call him Walter, was 79, widowed, sharp, still driving, still paying attention to the market, still certain that he was, in his words, doing just fine. The numbers on the statements weren't catastrophic. That was part of the problem. $200 in cash, $300 to a new payee, a check memo that made no sense, nothing large enough on its own to justify an accusation, everything small enough to delay one. This story does not start the way most people expect a fraud story to start, and that right there is exactly why I need to talk to you today. Why today? August 21st is National Senior Citizens Day, a day President Ronald Reagan first proclaimed back in 1988 to honor the contributions, the dignity, and independence of older Americans. It's a beautiful idea, and nearly 40 years later, the words still ring true. What's changed is the world our parents and grandparents now are aging into. In 2025 alone, Americans 60 and older reported $7.7 billion in losses to internet-based fraud. That's a 60% jump in a single year, according to the FBI's Internet Crime Report. And when you add in the cases that never reach law enforcement, the checks written to a nice young man from the neighborhood, the joint accounts that get quietly drained by a relative, ARP and the National Council on Aging estimate the real annual number is closer to $28 billion. So today I want to celebrate our seniors the way I believe they deserve to be celebrated. Not just with a card or a phone call or a nice restaurant, but with a family plan to protect them. That is the most meaningful gift we can give the people who spent a lifetime taking care of us. When most families picture fraud, they still picture it the way it looked 20 years ago. A stranger on the phone claiming to be from the IRS, a grandchild calling from jail, a Nigerian prince email. Those scams are still with us, but the landscape today is faster, quieter, and far more personal. Think about what our parents are actually navigating right now. They are investment and cryptocurrency scams, the highest loss category of 2025 that often starts as a friendly text message and grow over weeks or months into an opportunity that drains a retirement account. There are tech support scams that pop up as urgent screen warnings, then quietly hand over remote access to a family computer. There are romance scams that cost older adults nearly $1 billion last year and rarely involve a single red flag the target could have named in the first few weeks. There are AI clone voices that can imitate a grandchild, a pastor, or a bank officer with unsettling accuracy. And then there's the most painful category of all, trust-based exploitation. A neighbor, a helper, and a friend, sometimes even a relative. It never makes headlines, but it drains more accounts than any single scam. If there's one pattern under all of these, it's this. Whoever has easy access to an aging loved one's money, mail, medications, or attention has the power to shape their decisions. That's why fraud protection in 2026 isn't really about scam awareness, it's about who's in the room. So let me finish telling you about Walter. A younger man from Walter's neighborhood had started helping him with tasks around the house, bags of mulch, a porch plate, rides across town when Walter didn't feel like driving. Then he started running errands. Then he started handling cash. Then he offered to help Walter, quote, organize his paperwork. Walter didn't think of himself as vulnerable. He thought of himself as grateful. By the time his daughter finally understood what was happening, more than $12,000 had quietly slipped out of his accounts in 4 months. In checks, in cash withdrawals, in transfers Walter could no longer fully explain. That family did not have a money problem in the way we usually use the phrase. They had a visibility problem, a boundary problem, and a timing problem. Walter's daughter had noticed enough to be uneasy, but not enough to feel certain. Walter was embarrassed, defensive, and still sharp enough in conversation to make her doubt her own instincts. And the bank only noticed the pattern after the pattern had already matured. And I'll tell you something, after over 26 years of doing this work, that case looked exactly like most of these cases look at the beginning. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just a quiet leak in a family system that assumed trust would be enough. Trust matters, and it always will, but trust alone is not a protection plan. In my forthcoming book, A Caregiver Survival Guide, I devote an entire chapter to protecting older adults from financial exploitation. And the chapter is built around one simple idea: families protect their loved ones best when they work in three layers at the same time: visibility, guardrails, and communication. The first layer is visibility. You cannot spot suspicious activity if you don't know what normal looks like. Visibility starts with a simple inventory: which accounts exist, how are the bills paid, who has legitimate access, what does a typical month of activity actually look like. And I want to be clear, visibility does not mean taking over. In most families I work with, it starts with something as small as a monthly statement review over coffee, paperless alerts, a shared summary, a second set of trusted eyes. The second layer is guardrails, the structural systems that make misuse harder and suspicious activity easier to spot. And the most important guardrails are surprisingly ordinary: transaction alerts on checking, savings, and brokerage accounts, a trusted contact designation at the bank and brokerage, a person your loved one has authorized the institution to call when something looks wrong, locked storage for checkbooks, passports, spare cards, and legal documents, a password manager, and strong unique passwords for every financial login, and a current, specific, durable power of attorney granted only to someone with both competence and character. The principle is simple: the fewer hidden corners in a person's financial life, the fewer places exploitation can grow unnoticed. The third layer is communication, because secrecy is the environment where exploitation thrives, and communication is what starves it. Decide while everyone is calm, not in the middle of a crisis, who reviews statements, where the originals are stored, and who has online access, and which transactions deserve a second conversation before they happen. This isn't distrust, this is process. And in caregiving, process is what protects your relationships when stress rises and memory fails. The single most important decision inside all of this is not whether to name a trusted person, it's who that person should be. I ask families to think about three qualities together, not one at a time. First, competence, the ability to read a statement, keep a record, and ask a smart question of an advisor or an attorney. Second, character, a track record of honesty in their own financial life, not just their good intentions towards yours. And third, capacity, actual availability, because the most trustworthy adult child in the country cannot protect a parent from 2,000 miles away with a demanding job and no bandwidth. The best families I've worked with often name a primary agent and a backup, not because they distrust the primary, but because life happens: illness, distance, a job change, or a family conflict. Redundancy in an estate plan isn't suspicion, it's respect. And one more thing: if your loved one is still fully in charge, which in Walter's case he was, let them choose the trusted person out loud in front of the family. That single act of ownership is worth more than any document you'll ever sign. If you're thinking, this all sounds right, but how do I actually start this conversation without making dad feel like I'm taking over his life? I hear you, and you're not alone. Most older adults hear money questions as status questions. If you ask clumsily, they don't hear, "I want to protect you." They hear, "I don't think you can handle your own life anymore." So try these three moves instead. Number one, start with the outside world, not with their weakness. Say something like, "Scams have gotten so sophisticated, almost anyone can be fooled. Our family should have a system." That's true, and it protects their dignity. Number two, speak from your need for clarity, not from their competence. Try, "If something happened tomorrow, I wouldn't know where to start, and I don't want to be guessing in a crisis." Number three, stay specific. "I noticed 3 checks written to cash this month, and that's new. Can we look at them together?" Specific observations open the conversation. Broad labels shut it down. The point of the first conversation is not to solve the whole problem, it's to create enough safety that a second conversation can actually happen. I'll leave you with this. Walter, by the way, is still Walter. Still proud, still opinionated, still himself. What changed wasn't who he was, what changed was the system around him. His daughter reviews statements with him over coffee once a month. He kept full control of his ordinary spending, and the family agreed on one simple rule. No one outside the family holds his debit card, checkbook, or online password, and any request for a loan, gift, or payment tied to secrecy gets discussed first. The helpful neighbor disappeared almost immediately once the easy access disappeared. National Senior Citizens Day isn't just about gratitude in the abstract, it's about the quiet, unglamorous work of making sure the people we love can keep living the lives they've built. That's what visibility, guardrails, and communication really give a family. Not control, continuity, not surveillance, but a safety net. So, this August 21st, if this is the day your family finally has the money and safety conversation you've been putting off, then this year's Senior Citizen Day will have done its work. That's how we honor them, not by celebrating from a distance, but by protecting them up close. I'm Jeffrey Panic. My third book, A Caregiver Survival Guide, is coming soon, and it includes the full financial protection checklist and suspicious activity log I use with families like Walter's. If today's message was useful, subscribe to the Financial Roadmap newsletter on LinkedIn and share this video with someone whose parent or whose parent's neighbor you've been quietly worried about. That share might be the visibility their family needs. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of the people who took care of you.